Welcome to Strat Xtra. I'm your trusted advisor, Zach Hester, and today we're talking about UCAS and CCAS with Matt Dorsett with Vonage. Matt, super excited to have you on with us today. We've been doing a lot of great things with Vonage in the past couple of years, so thank you for joining us.
Yeah, of course. Excited to be here, Zach. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So just to kind of get into things, what really differentiates Vonage from some of the other cloud communication providers in the marketplace? Obviously, it's a very saturated industry. So what really separates you guys?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think two key points I like to hit on when I'm talking with, whether it's partners or prospects are the single stack approach that we have over here at Vonage. And then honestly, just the professional services that go into any customer rollout. So single stack, I think, is great from a customer standpoint, really being able to future-proof your needs, whether it's UCAS, CCAS, API in the future, Vonage can handle it. They don't necessarily need to start with all three, but you can always grow into that and not really be worried from a future proofing standpoint that you're going to have to go to a different vendor or your needs wouldn't be covered. So that's a key point I always touch on with my prospects. The other is the project management process. It's very hands-on over here at Vonage, white glove, very customized to the end user and at their schedule. So I think really delving a lot of resources into that area. At the end of the day, a lot of the products are relatively comparable if we're looking at UC products. So being able to implement that extremely well and train up those organizations on how to use the product to get the most, to really get a big maximization of their investment is pretty key on our side. So I'd say those are probably two key points I always like to touch on with partners and prospects.
Absolutely. I think you hit on a great point of, why we have such a great partnership with Vonage is on the professional services end. We do lean on you guys a lot when it comes to, nationwide global rollouts for, on-site services that we're not in, a specific region that we can rely on your guys' partner program and partner system to kind of help clients get like a white glove approach to everything and make sure that everything gets really implemented very smoothly.
Yeah, I totally agree. And working, with the Strat team and being able to have you all as a part of that project, it's just another layer of security for the customer at the end of the day. It's not just Vonage. You also have Strat's team that's helping to work through that implementation. So it's led to a lot of successful projects.
Absolutely. From like an ideal client in terms of like size, industry, where do you guys see Vonage is winning the most? And do you guys have like an ideal client size industry really that you're targeting?
Yeah, it's interesting. The answer is more, I would say, and it's not to really take us out of an enterprise space, but we're a great mid-market fit right now. It's really where I think our technology is most impactful. That can be 50 to 1,000 users right there, whether it's US based or a global company. Global coverage isn't a problem for us whatsoever. From an industry, some of the verticals we've been doing really well in here recently are travel, transportation, hospitality. Anything healthcare related has been a big focus for the organization here this year. And then I've always kind of had a soft place in my heart for logistics. I know they're super dependent on their communications. So really being able to provide that uptime, being able to provide them the different types of technologies that are impactful to the business, I think have shown some really great success. Me personally, I'm not verticalized. Having been here for 8 years, I've met with all sorts of different companies. So I think having that experience to draw on has been helpful, to really take our solution and make it impactful for organizations in their industry. But those are a couple that jump out.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of matches ours as well. We're spread across verticals. We're not focused on a specific vertical. It's, really from as small as 5 employees and growing up to, the mid-market enterprise like clients out there. Again, it's kind of a match on our side, our ideal like client profile, that Vonage has. So
Yeah.
makes sense. Matt, can you share a story in a time that you really made a big difference for a client?
Yeah, it was actually earlier this year. It's a company. I won't throw their name out just because I'm not sure if they want me to use it, but they are in the
100%.
disaster relief. They're a disaster relief company. So anybody that's been displaced due to hurricanes, wildfires, just kind of had their life uprooted. And so for them, they have a really, really strict set of SLAs and KPIs that they need to adhere to. Being able to have that first touch with a client within 15 minutes of any type of reach out, being able to place them in a new, whether it's temporary housing or a new housing situation within the first 60 minutes of meeting them. And really, they just didn't have a solution that was functional for their agents today. And it required, on our end, being able to stick and to give them solutions that really help them maximize, the way they did business. So being able to allow, and this was a contact center type opportunity on our side. So being able to allow functionality for them to monitor all those SLAs and KPIs that they had, but also for the agents to do their jobs a lot quicker. They actually needed, and this was a unique challenge for us, they needed kind of a mobile contact center solution. So a lot of the times the agents, 9 to 5, they're usually at their desks and they're working off of the soft phone and all that. But a lot of the times they need to be on the road and they will actually go out and meet these families in person. So we had to actually custom configure a mobile solution for them, which was a huge value add to really help them solve for this challenge that they couldn't really solve for with any other partner that they looked through. They were a big Salesforce shop, so that type of integration was incredibly impactful to them, and really being able to, build out this new solution was pretty exciting for us, and to obviously test it and make sure it worked with the client was huge. But just what they do as an organization, being able to help those individuals, it meant a lot for us to be able to come in and provide them a solution that honestly they've been looking for a few years.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a personal experience too, just working with Vonage. We were working with it was a 4 or 5 site recruiting company that had offices all across the country. I think probably in the range of like 150 employees or so. They were they were using like a legacy Avaya phone system. They were having issues finding people to repair it. The systems were like years and years and years behind. They haven't been upgraded. They were experiencing outages, through their ISP, through their voice provider. So it just became, a huge burden for the IT manager at this firm. So what we did was we came in and they wanted to start doing like kind of similar things, working remotely, working mobile. We came in with Vonage as a solution provider that they could look at. They did have redundant internet connections at each site, which was great. So what we did was we layered your guys' smart WAN solution, which was built off of Velo Cloud to help do load balancing on their internet. Help provide priority to voice, and do those sorts of things. And we gave them a solution that the client absolutely loves, and it was pretty much set and forget it for them. So, once they pretty much installed everything, it was super easy to add users, delete users, that sort of thing. So, personal success story with Vonage, the client is extremely happy with everything. So,
yeah, I know we've worked together for a while now, Zach, and I think it's fun whenever we get into an opportunity. We just try to do a good job of understanding what the client needs, bringing that human element to it and the human touch, not just this is just another deal or sale. I know it is pretty commoditized nowadays, but really trying to figure out how can we help the customer, take some stuff off of their plate, make an impact at their job, whatever they're trying to really accomplish. I think we do a good job of just being human beings with them, and at the end of the day, trying to provide them the right solution.
Absolutely. You while you were talking about the contact center solution for the last client, you hit on a point actually, that is a huge selling point of Vonage actually, with the contact center as a service product and its integration with Salesforce. I know it's actually, I believe it may be the top product in Salesforce's store today, or if not one of them. The last I checked. You want to talk about that a little bit, and the integration with the contact center portion through Vonage, because I think that's just a huge selling point for you guys.
Yeah, no, it's been great for us over the past couple of years. So yeah, to your point, we are one of the top rated contact center solutions in their App Exchange, which is where Salesforce's customers will go and review, ancillary products, which I think speaks super highly to us. We don't have a team somewhere in a back office writing reviews. These are actual Salesforce customers that are doing this. We are an ISV Summit partner of Salesforce, which means we're a top 1% global partner with Salesforce. But
That's
yeah, to your
huge.
point, this contact center, it's just a different beast than, there's a lot of different products out there, but for Salesforce specific customers, the contact center has a level of integration that there's not a lot out there that can do. It's directly native and embedded right into Salesforce. Really, any way the customer is utilizing Salesforce today, they have what are called standard and custom objects. Which a custom object, think about it like you're making kind of custom tweaks to your system. There, we have the ability to integrate and route based off of all that which a lot of our competition really doesn't do nowadays, or doesn't do super well. And then, yeah, kind of that use case earlier, that mobile element is something that's been new for us. And honestly, this deal was kind of what sparked the development here at Vonage, but it's been a whole complete game changer, I would say, because a lot of the time, a traditional contact center, you are in the office and it is more that 9 to 5. But I think with COVID, everything changed a little bit more to that remote need and remote use case. So being able to still track all of that data mobily, record those calls, record the transcriptions, and have all that data then pushed back into Salesforce for actionable insights is huge. I do spend quite a bit of time with the Salesforce team, so it's something I'm pretty passionate about doing. But it is a really key differentiator that we have over here that I would highly recommend anybody that leverages Salesforce to check out.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm on board with you. Whenever I hear that a customer is a heavy Salesforce shop, they're looking to provide a great customer experience. Vonage is who I'm thinking about, when it comes to having to implement like a contact center as a service solution.
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys are great with that. That's awesome. 2022 was it was a huge year for Vonage. You guys got acquired by Ericsson. How has becoming part of the Ericsson family really influenced your guys' operations and offerings? What do you see in the future from that standpoint, Matt?
Yeah, no, great question. I've had to learn a little Swedish, so that's been interesting.
It's never a bad thing to learn a new language, right?
Yeah, just expanding your
Always
horizons a
useful.
little bit. But no, I mean, I think obviously whenever there's talk or an acquisition goes down, there's a little uncertainty whenever that happens. The nice thing, though, about this acquisition is we really just got resources over here on our side. There hasn't been additional pressure or anything put down on the Vonage end. They really allow us to kind of act as our own independent subsidiary, if you will. But the great thing is they are throwing in a crazy amount of R&D budget over here at Vonage. So historically, generally when we would do our updates and all that, it's kind of come out, I would say, at a quarterly standpoint, if you will.
Sure.
But nowadays, I mean, I've even noticed since the acquisition has happened, the amount of updates that are coming to product, it's just much more frequent than it ever has been. So I think they really do care about investing into the technology and into the future of the company. They have a very vested interest in the API side as well. There's a lot that they're trying to marry between API and then Ericsson being known for kind of global 5G LTE connectivity. They're trying to really marry those two together, and it'll be exciting with what they come out with. I think that whole connectivity space and really opening, Vonage up to a larger global audience than we had in the past is something that's super exciting. But no, it's been all good things here so far. It's my second acquisition since being at the company, so it's kind of table stakes at this point, but all good things.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you say that's like kind of the biggest project, I guess, from the Vonage standpoint that's on the horizon is just integrating APIs and like the 5G with the Ericsson
Yeah,
network and everything?
connectivity is getting huge. Also, a lot around AI and Chat GPT. I know we're working to kind of get that built into the contact center and the UC offering. Excited and terrified at the same time to see where that kind of comes out to. But it is interesting. I mean, the reality of it is it's going to be something that's leveraged in the workplace moving forward. So we don't want to fall behind on that trend. And I know the dev team is actively working to see how we can already take our product, which I'm a little biased, but I think is pretty solid, and really advance it with the advances that are coming through with AI.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think we'll come back to it in a little bit because I did have a couple questions. That's kind of everyone in the space right now is talking about Chat GPT
Yep.
AI, how can we integrate these tools into our company to make us more efficient, more faster, and spend less money, frankly,
Right.
in a recession that companies are looking to cut back on their workforce. They're looking to cut back on, you know, any costs they can at this point. So that's a great point. Um, as a provider for a UCaaS, CCaaS provider, and CPaaS, what are your guys' goals for the rest of 2023?
Yeah, great question. I think it's obviously, always increase market share, always deliver, being publicly traded, delivering on, those earnings calls and the sales quotas for the end of the year. But I think personally, one of the things here on the Midwest team is trying to do a lot, with all the different products that we offer. I mean, historically, a lot of the companies that we see, they're either looking for UCaaS, they're either looking for CCaaS, or they're looking for API. I think now in this, digital transformation has been thrown around a ton, but I think it's actually starting to come to fruition now with, like you had mentioned, you see the rise of AI, you have a much more remote workforce, and just the way people work nowadays is totally changing than it
Totally.
even was 5 years ago at this point. So I think you now see a lot of these companies that are looking for just a holistic solution for the entire enterprise that's a lot different than what they've done today. So I think this has kind of been a long-standing goal of Vonage's, but it's to change the way that businesses and people communicate. And I think more so than ever, that's pretty relevant nowadays. So the more that we can kind of embed ourselves in with organizations and really show them everything that Vonage has to offer in terms of the toolkit is definitely an initiative that we have going on.
Yeah, actually, you just literally lobbed a softball to my next question here, with everything and kind of our conversation around customer experience. Reading Vonage's 11th annual global customer engagement report, they found that only 45% of customers are very satisfied with how they connect with companies today. In your opinion, what's the one thing that companies can do to really improve that statistic today?
All centered around CX or customer experience. I think you have a generation that's a bit younger that grew up with technology that's now predominantly like the buyers that companies are interacting with, whether it's patients, whether it's retail, just a consumer. We want answers quickly. We want answers in a way that is very easy for us to understand, whether that's chatting with somebody, whether that's texting, whether that's hopping on a video seamlessly. So I think you still have a good amount of companies that are operating in that more legacy or antiquated type of model that haven't moved over to this kind of omni-channel type of experience, which whenever I interact with a company that gives me a great experience, I'm substantially more likely to keep doing business with them, whether the cost is higher than any of these other companies, because it's something that's super easy for me, and everybody's busy, we want to get on with our lives. So I would say providing that type of customer experience that's super just easy at the end of the day, the customer, regardless of the channel that they want to communicate with. I mean, I don't know about you, I don't do a good job of checking my personal emails. So like the email communication and all that, I'd much rather get a text. I'd much rather get a quick chat with a
100%.
call within an app.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. When I'm looking to do business with a company, I want, multiple ways that I can contact them. If it's just phone call, maybe I'm busy, maybe I'm doing something else. I'd love to go on a web chat to get a quick answer on something like that. Just having the options and
Right.
having the company provide a good customer experience to me. Like, I don't want to be sitting on the phone for 45 minutes,
Exactly.
just something like a queued callback, for
Yep.
example. So at least I can plan to have like someone call me back. And I can plan my day around that sort of thing, is just like an easy way for an organization to implement things.
Yeah.
So
I could
I'm
not
right
agree.
there with you, having more options and, ways that customers, can provide a good omni-channel experience, whether it's, web chat, whether it's email, whether it's phone call, all of those different things. And, nowadays, social media, frankly, you
Yep.
know, just having a way to tie all of those together and respond in a timely manner, it makes me want to do business with those companies when they provide a good customer experience, even when they messed up.
I agree.
So
I mean, I keep going back. There's like studies I read a couple of years ago where it's like customer experience is going to be at the forefront, price is going to take a back seat, and I think that's now starting to finally become more of the reality at the end of the day. I think a lot of people will pay more of a premium for a much better experience than sitting on hold for 3 hours trying to press zero to talk to a live person for a while. It's just it leads to a lot of frustration, I think.
yeah, exactly. Companies really need to adapt or die when it comes to technology. Now, I hate to pick on Southwest Airlines right here, but this is a company that did not invest into their digital transformation.
Yeah,
And look what happened over the holidays.
for sure.
They didn't invest into updating their systems, and things went very south quick. It just happened again for Southwest Airlines. So, that's the cost of not investing in digital transformation in a company. And, quite frankly, there's a lot of different airlines out there, and people are going to them and won't use Southwest anymore.
Yeah.
If it was me in that spot, I was traveling on Southwest during the holidays, I'd probably never use them again. That's just me personally, though,
No, I know, but I mean that's how quickly you can burn a bridge with your customer base. If there's a terrible experience or if there's a wrong move, I mean, I think people are quicker to judgment nowadays for good or for bad, and that's just the reality of doing business as a larger corporation now. I think your tech stack really needs to be in line with your consumer expectations at the end of the day.
100%. So back to Chat GPT, Matt. It's generated obviously a lot of buzz out there. Everything in the news is about tech is people wanting to integrate with Chat GPT, and it's really gotten everyone interested in language models and generative AI as a whole. What are your personal thoughts on generative AI and its potential to transform contact center and customer experience?
Yeah, personally, would have loved to have it in grade school, high school, and college. I think I would have had a lot better grades.
Yep, I hear you on that.
I'm so torn on it, to be just blunt about it. I think the positives that can be accomplished with something like that are exponential. They're fantastic.
Hmm.
They're exciting, but I think it is a very slippery slope with someone has kind of worse intentions. It can be used in a very very negative manner. So I hope that there's better safeguarding around it. I hope that there's I think there needs to be rules. I think
Sure.
Uncle Ben said it great in Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. So I would certainly think that that needs to be something that's at the forefront of AI, just because it's almost limitless in the possibilities that you can take it. So I think you need to have some conviction when using it, and kind of have a moral standard with it. That being said, where I think it can go, and let's say just take the contact center space specifically, is unbelievable. I mean, we do a lot with AI as it is right now, just kind of on the front end, putting in that artificial voice and being able to have it talk back, between a CRM, reference any type of customer data, get that individual over to the right rep or to a different queue, or escalate them very quickly. I think, you take what we have today already and then you marry that with something like Chat GPT, and frankly it kind of makes me like scared for a contact center agent in the future. It's like, could they be replaced at the end of the day? I think we're not there by any stretch of the imagination yet, but I think a lot of those simple or those frequently asked questions can be easily handled with something like Chat GPT. And I know our team is working on that. We actually just had an all hands call a couple of weeks ago where there were a few things discussed. I don't think I can share them publicly just yet, but I know the team is actually working on how we're going to implement this into the contact center. So it should be really exciting at the end of the day.
Yeah, my thoughts are very similar to yours. It's exciting, but it's scary at the same time, as far as like all the AI capabilities that are out there. We're at the tip of the iceberg, with things when it comes to AI. Stratosphere Networks as a managed, we had our own managed security services practice in-house. From a cybersecurity company, it's a little scary.
Yeah.
People being able to harness a technology like that, that's self-learning, to do bad things. Obviously, as cybersecurity is number one for a lot of companies
Yeah,
right now, especially with different world events and other stuff that's going on right now. It's scary, the capabilities, but, when harnessed the correct way, like you said, I think, the possibilities are endless with it. And, there's so many great things that it can do. And, it's very, very much so a revolutionary technology,
yeah,
you know?
I agree. I had it really. I just tried it out for the first time last week, and I had it write a sales email, and I was like shocked by what it came back with. Like I had it write a contact center sales email for me, and just checked it out, and it is stunning. So we'll see where it goes. I think, like you said, tip of the iceberg right now, but it'll be interesting to see what happens in the future.
Absolutely. I think it's like, I think it's going to require organizations to do some different types of, relearning. Like, for example, it's like, going from the typewriter and, having to pull a piece of paper out every time that you made a mistake on it to, typing on a keyboard, for
Yeah,
example. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to require some relearning, but I think it's just going to, revolutionize the way people do business. And, it's going to do a lot of great things. So, going off that, on the AI question, Vonage recently launched its AI acceleration suite, which includes AI Studio, Proactive Connect, meetings, and their meetings API. Can you talk about the motivation for creating that suite, and how can businesses really leverage those trio of products from you guys?
yeah. I think the motivation to everything we're just talking about is Vonage is very aware that AI is not going to be something that goes away. It's not a flash in the pan. It's not a fad. It's going to be a legitimate technology component that businesses use moving forward. So I think we want to position ourselves in a good spot to be at the forefront of that. I would give Vonage kudos, having been here for 8 years. They are always very good about understanding industry trends and where technology is moving and not falling behind that curve. So I think that really is the motivation behind that studio. It's us showcasing that Vonage is very aware of what is happening and trying to position ourselves to have pre-baked solutions that our customers can utilize. And I think to the second point there, just in terms of how it can be utilized. I mean, I'll give you an example of something I'm doing today with a customer. Is through our discoveries, we found out, and going back and looking at kind of agent reporting, they were spending hours and hours on, like, just, we'll call them frequently asked questions, for lack of a better term.
Yep.
Something super simple. There was a lot of
Is this
also
on their web chat platform, just to clarify, or like a phone call?
actually both of them, so both
Okay.
phone and web chat. We also noticed that customers were spending what I would call is an obnoxious amount of time in the queue trying to get to the correct individuals. So today we implemented kind of our AI. We call it kind of our smart numbers, smart IVR, to one, have that automated voice at the front end. That voice is equipped to answer kind of frequently asked questions. It can also leverage different data in the customer CRM. They're utilizing Microsoft Dynamics, so it'll pull back from Dynamics, reference past customer interactions, see which agent they had last talked to. If it was a good experience, they can reroute them back there, or just kind of help them, much more efficiently get to where they needed to go throughout that interaction, whether it's via the chat or whether it's via a phone call. So it's very interesting to see what we can do. I think the days of being stuck in those hour-long phone calls will hopefully be coming to an end here in the future.
You and me
And
both.
we're really trying to implement that both in whether it's UC, whether it's CC, or allowing these APIs for individuals to kind of build their own solutions at the end of the day.
Yeah, real quickly, Matt. So you mentioned Microsoft Dynamics. It sounds like you guys have an integration there. One point I really want to touch on quick right now. What are you guys doing to leverage Teams integration? Obviously there's millions and millions and millions of Teams users out there. They want to be able to leverage some of the different Microsoft features and functionalities that are coming out, especially, taking a look at leveraging voice through Microsoft
For
Teams.
sure.
What is Vonage doing around that?
Yeah, it's a great question. it seems like it does come up in every conversation that you have with the
Well,
prospect.
Microsoft Teams comes free with the licensing, so
That it
yeah, I mean,
does. That
makes
it
sense.
does. So we totally understand the power of it. We totally understand that a lot of customers are super, super, integrated with, and they just love Teams nowadays. It's
Yep.
their preferred platform. So what we like to do in that scenario is just to allow them to utilize Teams the way they've always used it. Vonage will actually provide the PSTN calling, so we'll provide kind of that direct connectivity to allow external phone calls, to allow present sync, to allow different types of routing within the system that it's not something that's native to Microsoft today. So open up kind of that direct routing for the customers is something I would say is probably a topic of conversation on 80 to 90% of the conversations I have nowadays. So totally aware that Teams is here to stay, and I think Vonage, we don't want to cause any kind of a headache for the customers by making them use our application, whereas we'll just power Teams. We're a carrier at the end of the day. We can provide that type of carrier PSTN connectivity. So use Teams to your heart content, and we'll allow you to perform any type of traditional calling that's native to a PBX directly through Teams.
Yeah, and I think that's a powerful point because a lot of organizations are already leveraging Teams for, things like meetings today to do their collaboration software. They're leveraging it for like internal chat and all of that stuff.
Right.
So, it makes total sense that clients want one application to do calling from. They want one application to do conferencing from and one application to do web chat and then presence from. So, it makes total sense. The conversation that we're having with our customers today, yes, it can do calling. There's some additional feature functionality that maybe Teams doesn't have. So just things like, for organizations that are SMS or MMS heavy, with the texting, Teams does not have that ability to do that today. It obviously does not have the ability to do faxing and analog devices, kind of out of the box. So things like overhead paging, faxing, like I mentioned, alarm lines and some other things. And then, when you're getting into the robust like contact center as a service functionality, so things like reporting, recording calls, IVRs, it's just not something that Microsoft Teams is strong at. So, leveraging a partner like you guys to provide that calling plan and
Yep.
then layering those services over the top for the client where Teams struggles, it's a slam dunk for Vonage.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome scenario that you just mentioned, Zach. When you have a team, a contact center team that needs to work specifically out of an application, maybe they're not super Teams heavy at the end of the day, but their whole back office is built off of Teams. So I think one of the unique things Vonage can do is to provide that transfer capability and to interconnect with Teams and really just make it feel like one seamless large organization there. And when we're talking about SMS, MMS, faxing, I know, and it seems like I'm really starting to learn that consolidation of applications is huge for companies nowadays. People, if they can just work out of one app, I think that's the preferred method nowadays. But in the event you need some of these other functionalities, we actually have a way where we can embed our soft phone into the Teams interface, just make it another icon there so that you can then leverage texting. You can then leverage faxing if you need to use, any of these other types of type of call controls that aren't native to Teams. We can provide that too.
Exactly. And, kind of the other big point too is Teams does have outages. There was an outage recently. So, leveraging a party like you guys to kind of bring in your service, it can give the client some, redundancy features there. I think the latest outage, they were out for like a couple hours or something along those lines to like a DNS issue. So, having and working with like a company like Vonage, to provide the voice service is invaluable to me. So I wouldn't recommend any of my customers to put all their eggs in one basket with, any provider like, Microsoft in this case. So, leveraging you guys is great. So Matt, since Vonage helps businesses tackle digital transformation, what would your advice be to executives and business leaders that are trying to really successfully modernize their operations and keep up with a rapid evolving technology environment in the communication space?
It's a good question. I think for me, it's more of a mindset shift than anything. At the end of the day, it's being aware of the fact that things have changed. Things are, trends are going to continue to change. And, the status quo that a lot of the times in the past you could get away with, I don't think is going to be something that's sustainable nowadays. I really do think you need to be open to new ideas. You need to be open to new technology, because if you just look outside, I mean, you see like life has changed completely. Technology has also changed with it. And I think there's an awesome new set of technology, whether that's Vonage, whether that's our competition. I mean, I'm aware that there's a lot of great competition in the space. I think Vonage does a really good job of meeting a ton of needs. But you just need to be open to the fact that I think the legacy telecom world is on the way out, and it really is it's really a new landscape that everybody's playing in. So you can't be afraid of change. I mean, the technology's been around at this point for over 20 years. So it's not like it's not established. And it's not like it's something that hasn't shown proven success. So I think just being open to the fact that maybe what you've done in the past, while it's comfortable and while you're used to it, is not going to be really the best plan of action moving forward.
Yeah, makes total sense to me. I mean, what do you really see as the biggest challenges that your clients, face when it comes to digital transformation? Because this is something that we're, talking about every single day, with our clients, and digital transformation, whether that's, on-prem servers, moving them to the cloud, migrating them to a public cloud, a private cloud, obviously their communications. What's the biggest challenge that you see,
Yeah, I
from the
think it's
Vonage
just the
side?
fact that change is scary. At the end of the day, change
Yeah,
is different.
totally.
They don't want to move from stuff that they can physically touch or that's in the office that they know is going to work. It's a different business model at the end of the day. It's much more of an operational expense as opposed to a capital expenditure. But I think the core, really, hopefully, in this conversation, what I've gotten across is it's a very viable technology that is being adopted at a rapid pace
Hmm.
nowadays. And I think you just need to have, you almost need to have a powwow internally to realize, what are the market trends for your specific industry? I can't speak to all of them right now; it'd be too generalized. But
Yep.
I think overall, you are seeing that there's a consumer shift, there's a technology shift, there's just a general kind of working shift into how the way that people work. And a lot of the technology that worked years ago, it hasn't caught up. I mean, you've seen a lot of
Totally.
companies that have gone bankrupt. You've seen a lot of people being acquired because at the end of the day, there's not really a play for their services at this point, and they're being acquired for market share. So I think the biggest challenge is just honestly people changing their train of thought
Mindset.
at the
Yeah.
end of the day.
Yeah, from what I see, especially, in the case of like moving customers from legacy to more like a modern platform with you guys, it's sometimes the exact same features like on a legacy platform. It either needs to be reteached, or it isn't exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the same, and there's some relearning that's involved with it. This is an extremely mature technology, voice over IP. It's been around for years and years and years now. What I tell clients, it's extremely mature. It's tested, it's proven in the marketplace, and something that we get, with clients that are really hesitant to like move on, a UC platform or a CCAS platform. We'll usually have them like try like a proof of concept,
Yeah.
and we'll kind of go through like a list of different what requirements they have, so they can kind of try the technology out in action. And that's something that's worked for us, and I know it's worked for you guys as well, to give them the ability to kind of do that.
I
So
always like to recommend that, because if I were to put myself in a prospect or a client's shoes, I'd be skeptical. I wouldn't want to, buy something before I tested it or tried it, or at least heard from somebody else that's utilized the solution, and gotten their experiences. So I think whether it's providing those references or whether it's providing that firsthand proof of concept is extremely important to kind of get the point across anybody that might have some reservations.
absolutely. Last question here, Matt. What do you think is going to be the next big trend in cloud communications? So it can be UCAS, CCAS, or CPaaS. What do you think is going to be, I guess, the chat GPT of 2024, so to speak?
Dang, if I knew that, I probably wouldn't be working here. I'd be retired at this point. No, it's a good question. I think to go back to our earlier point that the market is pretty saturated at this point. I think you're going to see some of these companies, and I hope Vonage is one of them. I'm confident that we are really just kind of pushing the boundary of what can be done with these solutions, whether it's UCaaS, CPaaS, API. I think I don't know what the next big trend is going to be, Zach. I can't BS the audience here or anything like that, but I really think AI is going to be pretty impactful in the future, and how that's incorporated into us, our competition's technology. I think is really going to kind of set a precedent for where the next evolution of these products go, because I think with CCaaS it offers you all the mobile calling elements and texting and SMS elements that you need nowadays. So that box is pretty much checked. I think contact center, there's a lot of room for growth from an AI and from a mobile standpoint, just because I think that space is changing a ton. And then the API or the CPaaS side, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of room for growth there, just because it's a product that can be completely customized and developed upon, whether it's texting, whether it's video communication that you need. So in an ideal world, maybe there's a way we package that all together here at Vonage and it's one product and it can be taken in a bunch of different directions. But I'd leave that up to the people that make a lot more money than me to decide. I would just be very interested to see AI and ChatGPT and see, really where that kind of evolves in the future.
Absolutely. I think, it's for me in 2024, I think it's just going to be the maturation of the, different, AI platforms out there and how companies are really going to join those technologies together and leverage those technologies. Because I think, every company is literally finding out a way to integrate ChatGPT into their platform somehow.
Right.
I was just reading the other day, like, can ChatGPT replace Google? I don't know if we're there yet. But it's exciting to see at least where things are going. And obviously, a trend that I, continue to see with a lot of my clients is remote working and the hybrid workforce. So, a lot of companies that were stuck in leases for a couple of years with, huge, large corporate offices, they're, downsizing offices. They're going to a fully remote model. So they need technologies like, cloud communications.
For sure.
To leverage, all of the different hybrid work, remote work, and even, frankly, being on site and having reliable technology that works there. So, I'm on board with you. I think we're seeing definitely kind of the same trends. So it's going to be exciting to see where, the kind of the industry, goes in the next year or so here,
Yeah,
as
I hear you.
as we're in technology, things change from day to day. So you got to keep your head on a swivel, so to speak.
That you do. It's nice to have a big R&D budget from your parent company to invest in the product. So I would say we timed that pretty well to make sure that the product lines up with how tech's going to continue to change.
Absolutely. Hey, Matt, really want to appreciate you for jumping on and chatting with us. We're extremely, excited about our future partnership. Thanks for the great partnership in the past with Vonage. Super excited to keep working with you guys on stuff. And thanks for joining us today. And, to our listeners, thanks for listening to Strat Xtra, and stay tuned for our next episode.
Thanks, Zach.